Captain Alexander Lorne stood before the viewing port of the command bridge, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond. His fingers lightly tapped the edge of the console as the hum of the ship's systems filled the silence. The latest message from the Galactic Empire blinked in front of him on the screen, a dismissive, bare-veiled threat, the kind they'd been sending for months. "You're pushing us to the edge of the galaxy with these ridiculous demands," Emperor Varen's words echoed in Xander's mind. "We've humored you long enough. But do not mistake this for diplomacy. We will come, and we will make you regret it." The audacity. Humanity's warnings had been crystal clear: leave Earth alone, or face the consequences. But the Empire had brushed them off, just as they always did. Varen thought humanity was nothing more than a nuisance, a primitive species barely capable of reaching the stars. They hadn't even been subtle about it. Underestimating humanity's resolve had been their gravest mistake. Xander wasn't a fool. He knew the time for diplomacy had passed. The Empire's fleet was already en route, and Earth had only days to prepare. But that didn't mean Xander was going to back down. He leaned forward, his voice steady as he addressed his crew. "Prepare the fleet for deployment. We're not going to just survive this. We're going to make sure the Empire remembers what happens when they underestimate humanity." His words were measured, but they carried the weight of everything that was at stake. "Understood, Captain," said Lieutenant Juno Calloway, her voice sharp and clear. Juno, the fleet's tactical expert, was always quick to follow through. She was young, but her intellect had quickly made her one of the best strategists in the fleet. "We've already synchronized our defense protocols with the new tech. The Empire won't know what hit them." Xander turned toward her. "It's not just the tech, Juno. It's the mind behind it. The Empire's greatest mistake is thinking that we're no different from the other civilizations they've wiped out. They don't know who they're dealing with." Juno nodded, her eyes glinting with the kind of determination Xander admired. He could see the tension in her posture, the same tension that had gripped every member of the crew. They weren't just fighting for their survival. They were fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy. "Captain, the Empire's fleet is scheduled to arrive within the next 20 hours, reported Commander Marco Tessa, his voice breaking the momentary silence. Marco was a seasoned officer, experienced in the art of space combat. Yet, even he couldn't mask the edge in his voice as he delivered the report. "We've been scanning their trajectory. The numbers don't lie. They've brought an armada. At least 200 ships, all war vessels." Xander's expression remained unchanged, though his mind raced. 200 ships, an overwhelming force by anyone's standards. But the Empire had never faced humanity at full strength. The human fleet, though smaller in number, was equipped with a new class of stealth ships and cloaking technology that the Empire hadn't even imagined. It wasn't just firepower they'd bring to the fight, it was ingenuity, unpredictability. The Empire wouldn't be able to comprehend how humanity could challenge them, let alone win. "We can't afford to let them underestimate us again," Xander said, his voice low but firm. "The second they think they have the upper hand, we strike. All ships, initiate defensive formation Gamma. We need every advantage we can get." The room filled with the buzz of activity as the crew moved to carry out their orders. Xander moved to his station, pulling up the latest data feed. Earth's defense fleet, though smaller than the Empire's, was positioned across key choke points in the sector. It was a risky strategy, but it was their best shot. Xander wasn't about to let the Empire crush Earth with impunity. He glanced at the nearby screen displaying a digital map of the galaxy. Earth's small dot was dwarfed by the vast expanse of space, surrounded by the red and orange lines marking the Empire's territory. It felt almost laughable, the idea that a small, fledgling species like humanity would be able to stand up to an empire that spanned thousands of star systems. But Xander didn't see it that way. "This isn't just a defense mission," he murmured to himself, his fingers hovering over the command console. "This is our chance to show them what we're capable of." His thoughts were interrupted by a transmission alert. Juno's voice came through the comms. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission from the Empire. This one's direct." Xander's jaw tightened. He had a feeling he knew what it would be. He stepped forward, his tone icy. Put it through. The screen flickered, and a large, holographic image of Emperor Varen appeared before them. The sight of the Emperor was one of arrogance, a cruel smirk on his face, his eyes cold and calculating. Captain Lorne, Varen's voice boomed, dripping with disdain. I have to admit, your persistence is admirable. But misguided. Your so-called defense fleet is nothing more than an inconvenience. You cannot stop the Empire. You will fall, and your people will be swept away like the insects you are. Xander's grip on the edge of the console tightened, his eyes burning with fury. The Empire saw this as a game, an easy victory. But they hadn't yet seen what humanity could do when cornered. You should have listened to our warnings, Emperor, Xander said, his voice steady, each word laced with intent. Now, you'll learn the consequences of underestimating humanity. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. Xander turned to face his crew, meeting their eyes one by one. This isn't just about survival. It's about making sure they never forget. Humanity may be young in the galactic sense, but we're not helpless. We're not weak. We fight for our future. Juno gave a brief nod, her eyes locked on the captain. We're ready, sir. Let's make sure they regret this. Xander's eyes narrowed as he turned toward the viewport once more. The Empire was coming. And they were about to learn the hard way that humanity was not to be trifled with. The stars outside Earth's defense perimeter twinkled with a cold, indifferent beauty. But inside the command bridge of the Aegis, Earth's flagship, there was no room for beauty, only purpose. Captain Alexander Lorne stood at the helm, his sharp eyes tracking the incoming Empire fleet's trajectory. A single line of red dots blazed across the holographic map, growing closer by the minute. 20 minutes, Captain. Lieutenant Juno Calloway's voice broke the stillness, her tone steady despite the tension. The Empire's fleet is closing in fast. They are on schedule. No sign of any deviation. Xander gave a quick nod, his focus never wavering. Good. Keep monitoring their position. Make sure we're ready for them. The tension in the room was palpable. Every officer and crew member aboard the Aegis understood what was at stake. They had trained for this moment, prepared for every conceivable contingency, but no amount of preparation could entirely erase the weight of what they were facing. The Empire's fleet wasn't just large, it was formidable, each ship a weapon of mass destruction in its own right. 200 warships, as the Empire's intelligence had reported. 200 ships against Earth's defenses, a force that had once been underestimated, now primed for a fight. Juno turned toward the tactical console, fingers flying over the keys. We've activated the cloaking arrays, Captain. Our ships are now fully hidden from their senses. They won't see us coming until we're right on top of them. Xander looked over at the display, his mind running through the plan one more time. The cloaking technology was humanity's ace in the hole. The Empire had long assumed that their advanced detection systems could see through anything, but they had never encountered a human ship cloaked with such precision. By the time the Empire realized something was wrong, it would already be too late. Perfect, Xander muttered, but there was no time to revel in the strategy. The clock was ticking. Captain, Commander Marco Tessa called out from the side. We've got a full tactical readout of the enemy fleet. All ships are positioned in formation Delta 6. Looks like they're expecting us to put up a fight, but they are still massively overconfident. Their flanks are wide open. We can exploit that. Xander nodded slowly. No more games. Once they are within range, we engage. I want every ship locked in position, and no one gets complacent. This is our one shot. We take them down now or we don't get another chance. Marco's gaze flickered toward the map, eyes narrowing as he processed the information. Understood, sir. The Empire's fleet continued to move closer, and Xander could feel the pressure mounting, squeezing his chest. He knew his crew was counting on him to make the right call, and there was no room for mistakes. Every move had to be precise, every decision critical. Their first strike would determine everything. All ships in position, Juno's voice broke through his thoughts, calm and focused. "We're cloaked, as planned. The Empire is getting closer, but they haven't reacted. They still think it's a routine patrol." "Good," Xander said, eyes locking onto the blinking red dots that represented the Empire's fleet. "Let's see how long they stay so confident." The next few minutes dragged on, every second stretching like an eternity. Xander felt his nerves buzz with anticipation, but he had trained for this. He had to remain calm, focused. The Empire was underestimating humanity, but that arrogance was about to cost them dearly. The Aegis and its fleet lay in wait, hidden behind the thick veil of cloaking technology, just beyond the Empire's detection range. Xander's fingers brushed over the cold metal of his command console, then hovered over the final command to engage. His crew was ready, their every move choreographed. The instant the Empire's ships crossed a certain threshold, Xander would unleash everything humanity had prepared. "Captain," Marco spoke again, his voice tight. "They're coming in fast. The lead ship, the Regent, is only 5 minutes away from the firing range. They'll be in our blind spot soon." Xander straightened, his gaze locking onto the star-streaked void ahead. "Prepare for all contingencies. The moment they cross into range, we're launching the counterstrike." "Understood, sir," Marco replied. 5 minutes. It felt like 5 hours. As the Empire's fleet inched closer, the first hint of their overconfidence began to show. The massive ships loomed large in the distance, their engines glowing as they cut through the vacuum of space. The Empire's vessels appeared as imposing as expected, sleek, angular ships of dark chrome that looked like predators in the void. And yet, Xander saw something else, something the Empire didn't: opportunity. The Regent, the flagship of the fleet, led the charge. Its massive form cut through space, surrounded by lesser warships, like a wolf at the head of a pack. But it was in its wake that Xander saw his opening. The rest of the fleet was arrayed far too widely, expecting no resistance, leaving their flanks dangerously exposed. "Now," Xander breathed, his hand slamming down onto the command button. Instantly, the cloaking shields dropped. In a flash, Earth's fleet was visible, more than 30 ships, each one a testament to humanity's ingenuity, surged forward from the depths of space, weapons hot, shields raised. The Empire's fleet was caught completely off guard. The first wave of laser fire from Earth's fleet splintered the Regent's outer shields, sending shockwaves through its structure. The Empire's fleet scrambled to react, but it was too late. "Launch the drones," Xander commanded. A swarm of sleek, silent drones shot out from Earth's ships, swarming toward the Empire's flanks. They were equipped with high-frequency disruptors, technology the Empire had never seen before. The drones hit their targets with pinpoint accuracy, frying the communication relays and scrambling the Empire's navigation systems. "Direct hit on the Regent," Marco called, a rare edge of excitement in his voice. "Their shields are down to 50%, Captain." Xander's eyes flared with determination. "Keep pushing. Don't let them breathe." As the battle raged on, Xander's orders were met with a deadly efficiency. Earth's fleet moved as one, every ship in perfect synchronization, weaving in and out of the enemy's attempts to counterattack. The Empire's ships fired back, but their shots went wide, their formations collapsing under the pressure. "We've got them on the ropes," Juno reported, her voice carrying the quiet pride of someone who knew their gamble was paying off. "Their rear fleet is disorganized. We can finish this." Xander leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Not yet. We need to make sure they understand this was a mistake they'll never repeat." "Understood," Marco confirmed. "We're keeping up the pressure." The Empire's arrogance had been their undoing. They had thought humanity weak, unprepared. Now, they were reaping the consequences. The space around Earth had transformed into a battlefield. The once silent, peaceful expanse of stars now pulsed with the glow of fire and destruction as humanity's fleet engaged the Empire with ruthless precision. Captain Alexander Lorne stood in the center of the Aegis command bridge, his hands steady, but his mind firing on all cylinders. The Empire had thought they were unstoppable. But now, their arrogance was crumbling piece by piece. "Captain, the Regent is trying to retreat," Commander Marco Tesser announced, his voice sharp and crisp as the battle continued to unfold. "They are attempting to pull back to a defensive formation. But their rear ships are still scattered. They are disoriented." Xander's eyes scanned the holographic map of the battle. The Empire's fleet, though massive, was beginning to splinter under the onslaught of humanity's coordinated attack. The Regent, the flagship, had taken a direct hit, its shields weakening, but it wasn't out yet. No, the Empire wouldn't give up so easily. "That's fine," Xander said, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding outside the ship. "We'll push them until they have nowhere left to run. Let's break their morale. Keep the pressure on." "Yes, sir," Marco responded, his fingers dancing over the controls as he directed the fleet's movements. The moment the cloaking devices fell away, the full power of humanity's advanced weaponry had been unleashed. The Empire was still reeling from the initial shock, scrambling to adjust to the unexpected nature of the attack. It was all too much, too fast. And the new human tech was starting to show its power in ways the Empire hadn't anticipated. "Captain, the disruptor drones are hitting their communications again," Juno reported, her eyes glued to the data feed. "Their fleet command is in chaos. They are trying to re-establish communication, but it's too late." Xander allowed himself a brief, tight smile. "Perfect. Let's keep them blind. We need to finish this fast." The first wave of Earth's attack had been precise, surgically striking at the Regent's flanks and communications, isolating the flagship from the rest of the fleet. Now, humanity's ships weaved through the Empire's forces with deadly intent. Earth's fleet, though small in comparison, had agility, speed, and devastating new weaponry, the kind that could turn the tide of any battle. Xander's gaze shifted to the tactical map once again. The Empire's fleet was fragmented, and the humans had managed to carve out a decisive advantage. But there was still work to be done. "Deploy the secondary wave of drones," Xander commanded. "I want all of their remaining capital ships disabled. We won't give them time to recover." "Understood," Juno said, immediately initiating the launch sequence. The secondary wave of drones, much smaller but equipped with more powerful EMP charges, shot out from the fleet, targeting the Empire's remaining warships. With deadly accuracy, they slipped through the chaos of the battle and latched onto the enemy ships, releasing their payloads. The electrical pulses sent shockwaves through the enemy fleet, short-circuiting the capital ship's internal systems and rendering them useless. The once mighty warships fell silent, drifting aimlessly in space, their crews helpless. "Direct hits on 3 capital ships," Marco called out, his voice steady but tinged with excitement. "They've lost power across their entire rear fleet." Xander clenched his fists, feeling the adrenaline surge through him. The Empire was losing ground faster than even he had hoped. The arrogance that had defined their attitude toward humanity was now their greatest weakness. They had underestimated Earth's capacity to strike back with precision, with ingenuity, and now they were paying for it. "Take down the Regent," Xander ordered, his voice cold, calculated. "We're finishing this." The Aegis and its fleet of warships advanced, closing the gap between them and the Regent. The flagship was in no condition to fight back effectively, its shields nearly depleted, its weapons reduced to sputtering flashes of resistance. The Regent tried to regroup, but Xander's fleet was too fast, too precise. They were closing in for the kill. "Firing on the Regent," Marco said, his fingers moving to the control panel. "All weapons are locked." Xander nodded once, sharply. "Fire." A storm of laser fire and missiles erupted from Earth's fleet, tearing through the space between them and the Regent. The flagship's remaining shields flared in a futile attempt to protect it, but it was no use. The barrage from the Aegis hit its target with brutal accuracy, tearing through the remaining defenses like paper. "Direct hit to the Regent's bridge," Marco reported, his voice calm but the exhilaration evident. "They've lost command. The ship is going down." Xander watched as the once proud Empire flagship buckled under the assault, its massive hull shuddering, massive explosions tearing through its inner chambers. The ship began to break apart, debris drifting off into space as the flames of its destruction continued to burn. "That's it," Xander muttered under his breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle in. "They are finished." The rest of the Empire's fleet, now leaderless and fractured, had lost their will to fight. Earth's ships swept through the remaining enemy vessels with relentless efficiency, picking off ship after ship, leaving nothing but wreckage in their wake. "Captain," Juno called from her station, "the remaining enemy ships are retreating. They are heading into deep space, but we have them cornered. They won't escape." Xander looked at the tactical display, his mind working quickly. The Empire was broken, but there was one thing left to do. He couldn't allow any of them to escape. Not after all they had threatened, all the warnings they had ignored. "Track their last known coordinates," Xander ordered. "I want their retreating ships followed. If any of them make it out, we'll hunt them down." "Understood," Marco replied, inputting the coordinates into the system. As Earth's fleet continued to mop up the last of the Empire's broken armada, Xander took a moment to let it all sink in. The battle was over. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and now they had paid the price. It was a victory not just for Earth, but for the galaxy itself. The message was clear: humanity would not be brushed aside. "Send a message to the rest of the fleet," Xander said, his voice firm, filled with resolve. "Tell them this was a victory, but it's just the beginning. The Empire won't be the only one who learns to fear us." Juno glanced at him, her expression unwavering. "Message sent, Captain." As the battle came to a close and the wreckage of the Empire's fleet drifted behind them, Xander allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. Humanity had struck back. And the galaxy would never forget it. The final echoes of combat faded into the cold vacuum of space, leaving only the distant glow of dying stars and the scattered debris of the Empire's once mighty fleet. The tension aboard the Aegis had not yet fully dissipated, despite the overwhelming success. For Captain Alexander Lorne, the weight of the victory was heavy, not just with pride, but with the realization that humanity had crossed a line, one that could not be uncrossed. "Captain, the Empire's fleet is no longer a threat," Commander Marco Tessa reported, his voice steady but with a hint of awe. "The remaining ships are either crippled or in retreat. We've secured the sector." Xander nodded, his face betraying no emotion. There was no time for celebration, not yet. "Keep tracking their retreating ships. We can't afford any survivors." Juno Calloway, standing at the comms station, looked up. "The Empire won't be able to regroup after this. Their command structure is in shambles, and their fleet is decimated. But I'll keep monitoring, just to be sure." Xander's eyes flicked to the tactical map, which now displayed only the scattered, crippled remnants of the Empire's once formidable armada. It was a hollow victory, as far as he was concerned. The battle had been won, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy was just beginning. "Good. Now we make sure everyone gets the message," Xander said, his voice calm but resolute. "Contact the rest of our fleet. We'll issue a broadcast to the galaxy. Let them know what happens when they think they can ignore humanity." Juno turned back to her console and quickly began preparing the transmission. Xander walked over to the viewport, staring out at the wreckage of the Empire's ships drifting through space. The stars seemed to mock the destruction in front of him, the quiet vastness of the galaxy a sharp contrast to the chaos humanity had just inflicted. "Message is ready, Captain," Juno said after a brief pause. Her voice was filled with the quiet confidence that had become second nature to her since the battle began. "It's going out to every corner of the galaxy. They'll hear us loud and clear." Xander took a deep breath, his fingers brushing against the cool metal of the console as he looked at the holographic map. This wasn't just a warning to the Empire, it was a declaration. Humanity had shown its power, and the galaxy could no longer afford to ignore Earth. The world had changed irrevocably. "Send it," Xander ordered. The broadcast went live. A still, piercing silence hung in the air for a few moments, until Xander's voice broke through the static, calm and commanding, reaching the galaxy's farthest corners. To the Galactic Empire and every other faction in the galaxy, Xander began, his voice carrying a weight that echoed across the vastness of space. Humanity has made its stand. We have proven, with our technology, our courage, and our resolve, that we are not to be ignored. The Empire thought they could crush us. They were wrong. He paused, allowing the words to settle. Now, the balance of power in this galaxy has shifted. We will no longer stand idly by while other empires trample upon us. Earth is no longer a pawn. We will shape our own future, and you will respect our place in the galaxy. The transmission cut off, but Xander's words lingered in the minds of those who heard them. In the silence that followed, Xander turned to face his crew. They were still processing the enormity of the message they had just broadcast to the galaxy. For most of them, this was more than just a military victory. It was a transformation. Earth had shed its cloak of vulnerability and had boldly stepped into a new era. Captain, Marco spoke up after a moment, his tone thoughtful. What happens now? The Empire won't just fade away. They'll come after us. The galaxy won't take kindly to this, either. Xander met his gaze, understanding the unspoken question. They had just done the impossible, but the implications were enormous. The galaxy had been watching, and their actions had just sent a shockwave through every empire and faction in the known universe. They had made a statement, but it had come at a cost. We'll be ready for them, Xander replied firmly. The Empire might retreat now, but they'll regroup. They always do. But so will we. We've shown them what we're capable of, and that will buy us the time we need. We'll need allies, technology, resources. And we'll need to keep our eyes open for those who will try to take advantage of this power vacuum. And the rest of the galaxy? Juno asked, her voice quiet but filled with concern. We've made enemies today. Not just the Empire, but everyone who thought Earth was nothing more than a speck. Xander paused, his gaze shifting back to the view outside. The wreckage of the battle still lingered in his mind, the lives lost, the ships broken. He knew the galaxy would never forget this day. Humanity had proven itself, but with that came the responsibility of its own survival. We'll deal with them as they come, he said, his voice steady. The galaxy will respect us, or they'll face the same fate as the Empire. We've made our mark. Now, we must protect what we've earned. Marco looked at him, the weight of the situation settling in. And the Empire? They'll regroup, Xander said, the fire of resolve burning in his eyes. But we'll be ready. We'll hunt them down if we have to. Earth won't go back to being a target for anyone. We've shown that we're a force to be reckoned with, and we'll continue to prove it. Juno leaned forward, her voice taking on a tone of determination. We'll need more than just a fleet, Captain. We'll need allies, new technology, new strategies. The Empire won't stop coming for us. But we'll be ready. Xander turned to her, his expression firm. That's why we've only just begun. We won't stop. We'll take what we've learned here and use it to shape our future. The galaxy will know Earth's name, and they'll know fear when they hear it. He looked out at the stars, the burning resolve in his chest mirroring the fire that now lit humanity's future. The Empire was broken, but the galaxy was vast, and Earth had just stepped into the fray. Prepare for the next step, Xander said, turning back to his crew. We're going to make sure no one ever forgets what happened here. Humanity is not just a survivor, we are a force. And the galaxy will soon learn what happens when you challenge us. The crew nodded in unison, the certainty in Xander's voice igniting a new sense of purpose. Humanity had taken its place in the galaxy. The road ahead would be difficult, but Earth would never be weak again. The message had been sent, and now, the universe would feel its impact.